The silent treatment director, Sarah Chen, stood at the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the massive alien ship position themselves around Earth. The Galactic Council fleet had arrived 3 days ago, and their vessels were unlike anything humanity had seen before. Each ship stretched over 2 kilometers long, their hulls gleaming with an almost liquid metal finish that seemed to shift colors in the light of the sun. Impressive, aren't they? Admiral Marcus Webb joined her at the window, his weathered face showing no emotion. At 62, Webb had commanded Earth's defense fleet for nearly a decade, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Sarah nodded slowly. 12 capital ships, each one capable of destroying a small moon. The Council certainly knows how to make an entrance. She turned to face the Admiral. Any word from the outer system patrols? Captain Park's team is in position. They're maintaining radio silence as ordered. Webb's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. The Council doesn't know we have assets. Beyond Mars orbit, the communication panel behind them chimed with an incoming message. Sarah walked over and activated the holographic display. The image of Counselor Vexvarn appeared. His reptilian features twisted into what humans had learned was the equivalent of a smile among his species. Greetings, Director Chen. Vexvarn's voice came through the translator with a mechanical precision. I trust you have had sufficient time to consider our proposal. Sarah exchanged a glance with Admiral Webb before responding. Counselor, we appreciate your patience. However, we need more time to review the terms with our government. Vexvarn's head tilted slightly, a gesture that indicated confusion among his people. Director, perhaps you did not understand the nature of our visit. This is not a negotiation. The Galactic Council has determined that Earth's asteroid mining operations interfere with established trade routes. You will transfer 70% of your mining rights to Council oversight and begin monthly protection payments of 50,000 credits. The silence that followed stretched for nearly 30 seconds. Sarah's expression remained perfectly neutral, but inside she was counting. The plan required exact timing. Counselor, she finally said, we will need to discuss this with our planetary leadership. I'm sure you understand the need for proper consultation. The alien's yellow eyes narrowed. You will have 48 hours to comply. After that, the Council will take whatever measures are necessary to ensure galactic stability. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah and Admiral Webb alone with the distant view of the alien fleet. Phase 1 complete, Webb said quietly. They still think we're just another primitive species that will roll over when pressured. Sarah activated her secure communicator. Dr. Rodriguez, please join us in the observation deck. Within minutes, Dr. Elena Rodriguez arrived, carrying a tablet filled with data. As Earth's chief strategic analyst, she had spent the past 3 years studying every piece of information humanity had gathered about the Galactic Council's methods. Elena, what's the historical pattern? Sarah asked. Dr. Rodriguez consulted her tablet. In the past century, the Council has made similar demands to 17 different species. The average negotiation period is 6 days. Most species attempt to bargain for reduced percentages or extended payment schedules. The Council typically agrees to minor concessions to maintain the illusion of fairness. And the species that refused outright, 3 species attempted complete refusal. 2 were blockaded until they submitted. 1 was made an example of. Elena's voice grew quiet. The Corvin system was depopulated as a warning to others. Admiral Webb crossed his arms. But none of those species had what we have. No, Elena agreed. They fought conventionally. They tried to match the Council's ship, weapon for weapon. They'd played by the Council's rules. Sarah walked back to the observation window. And humanity has never been very good at following other people's rules. The next 24 hours passed in tense preparation. On the surface, Earth appeared to be going about its normal business. Cargo ships continued their regular routes between Earth and Mars. The asteroid mining operations continued their work. Diplomatic channels remained open, with periodic updates that Earth's leadership was still considering the Council's proposal. But beneath this facade of normalcy. Something unprecedented was happening. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was working together with complete unity. The Global Defense Coordination had been established 5 years earlier, but it had never been tested on this scale. Captain David Park crouched in the command center of the stealth ship Shadowrunner, positioned 30 million kilometers from Earth in the cold darkness between Mars and Jupiter. His team of 12 specialists had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering, utilizing technology that the Council had never encountered, because no other species had thought to develop it. "Captain," his communications officer whispered, "we're receiving the coded signal from Luna Station." Park nodded. "Activate the network." Across the solar system, 47 similar ships received the same signal. They had been hiding in asteroid fields behind moons and in the shadows of planets for months. The Council's sensors were designed to detect conventional ships and energy signatures. They had no idea how to track vessels that were specifically designed to be invisible on Earth. The silence was becoming noticeable. The Council had expected increasingly frantic communications as the deadline approached. Instead, they received formal acknowledgments of their messages and requests for small clarifications on minor points. No panic, no desperate counteroffers. No, pleading Counselor Lex Varn found this behavior deeply disturbing. In his 300 years of service to the Council, he had never encountered a species that responded to overwhelming force with bureaucratic politeness. "Director Chen," he transmitted on the second day, "surely your leadership understands the seriousness of this situation. We are not merchants here to bargain. We are the Galactic Council, and our word is law." Sarah's response came 2 hours later. "Counselor, we certainly understand the Council's position. Our leadership is reviewing all aspects of your proposal. We should have a comprehensive response within the next few days." The alien's frustration was evident even through the translation software. "You have 18 hours remaining. After that, there will be no further opportunities for discussion." What Dexvarn didn't know was that Earth had already made its decision. The moment the Council fleet had arrived, humanity's response had been unanimous and immediate. There would be no negotiation, no compromise, and no surrender. The silence wasn't hesitation, it was preparation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was working around the clock in the Strategic Analysis Center, coordinating with teams around the world. The Council's threat followed their standard pattern exactly, but their response to Earth's behavior was unprecedented. Other species had begged, pleaded, and attempted to negotiate. Humanity was simply ... waiting. "They're confused," Elena reported to Sarah during one of their hourly briefings. "Our xenopsychology team believes the Council genuinely doesn't understand our behavior. They've never encountered a species that treated their ultimatum as a minor administrative matter." "Good," Sarah replied. "Confusion leads to mistakes." The final day arrived with no change in Earth's position. The Council fleet had moved closer to Earth's orbit, their weapon systems charging in preparation for a demonstration of force. Standard procedure called for destroying a few mining stations to show they were serious. Counselor Lex Varn made his final transmission to Luna Station. "Director Chen, this is your last opportunity. Comply with the Council's directives immediately, or face the consequences." Sarah's response was brief and delivered with the same polite tone she had maintained throughout the entire exchange. "Counselor, we have received your message and are preparing our official response. Please stand by." The transmission ended, and for the first time in 3 days, Earth's communication channels went completely silent. Admiral Webb stood beside Sarah as they watched the alien fleet positioning itself for attack. Final confirmation. "From all teams?" "Confirmed," Sarah replied, checking her secure tablet. 47 stealth ships in position. Ground-based systems ready. The trap is set. And if we're wrong about their capabilities? Sarah looked at the alien ships, each one capable of devastating an entire planet. "Ben will go down fighting, but we won't go down begging." The silence stretched across space, carrying with it The weight of humanity's response to those who had pushed too far. The council had expected fear, negotiation, or surrender. Instead, they had received something they had never encountered in 3,000 years of galactic dominance: a species that would rather face extinction than submit to threats. The waiting was over. Phase 2 was about to begin. Asterisk. Asterisk. The price of pushing humanity. The silence lasted exactly 4 hours and 17 minutes. Then humanity spoke, but they didn't speak with words. Counselor Thexvarn was reviewing the tactical display in his flagship's command center when the first anomaly appeared. Navigation officer? Explain this reading. The young Zephyrian officer's tentacles twitched nervously as he studied his console. Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures throughout the system. They appear to be ... appearing from nowhere. Impossible. Our sensors monitor all space within 50 million kilometers. Nothing can hide from Council technology. The navigation officer's voice cracked slightly. Sir, they're all around us. On the main display, 47 new contacts materialized simultaneously. The ships were unlike anything in the Council's databases, sleek, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They had been there all along, watching. Waiting. Captain David Park smiled as the Shadowrunner's cloaking system deactivated. All units, this is Phoenix Leader. Execute Pattern 7. The response was immediate and devastating. The human ships didn't attack the Council vessels directly. Instead, they began systematic destruction of everything the Council valued most. Their ability to control the situation. Commander Lisa Torres guided her ship, the Silent Death, through the heart of the Council formation. Her target wasn't the alien vessels, it was their communication relays. Within 3 minutes, the Council fleet found itself completely cut off from their command structure. No orders could be received. No reports could be sent. What is the meaning of this? Counselor Thexvarn transmitted on all frequencies, his voice carrying the first hint of uncertainty the humans had heard from him. The response came from Director Sarah Chun, but not from Luna Station. Her voice broadcasted simultaneously from every human ship in the system. Counselor, you asked for our official response. This is it. General Robert Kim was coordinating the operation from the underground command center beneath the Australian desert. The facility had been constructed over 7 years, designed specifically for this moment. As Earth's strategic defense coordinator, he had spent decades studying the Council's methods and weaknesses. Phase 2 Alpha complete. He reported to the Global Command Network. All Council communication networks disabled. Moving to Phase 2 Beta. Dr. James Mitchell, humanity's leading expert on alien technology, was aboard the research vessel Discovery, positioned just outside the combat zone. His job was to analyze the Council's responses and adapt human tactics in real time. General Kim, he transmitted. Their weapon systems are charging, but slowly. Their targeting systems appear to be having difficulty locking onto our ships. Expected, Kim replied. They've never encountered stealth technology this advanced. Their sensors are designed to track conventional drives and energy signatures. The Council fleet was beginning to panic. Fleet Admiral Zenkeller, commanding from the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion, had never faced an enemy that fought like this. The human ships moved in patterns that defied standard tactical doctrine. They appeared, struck at critical systems, and vanished before return fire could be coordinated. All ships, implement bombardment formation, Zenkeller ordered. If we cannot track their vessels, we will destroy their world. The Council ships began turning their massive weapons toward Earth, preparing to demonstrate why no species had ever successfully resisted them. But as their targeting systems locked onto the planet, something impossible happened. Earth vanished, not physically. The planet was still there. But every sensor, every targeting system, every piece of scanning equipment in the Council fleet suddenly couldn't detect it. To their instruments, they were pointing weapons at empty space. How? Zenkeller whispered Dr. Elena Rodriguez was monitoring the battle from Luna Station, watching as humanity's most ambitious project came to fruition. Global stealth field holding steady, she reported. The quantum interference generators are working perfectly. Admiral Webb stood beside her, watching the Council fleet fire blindly at space where they thought Earth should be. 7 years of preparation, and they still don't understand what they're dealing with. The human strategy was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Most species, when threatened by the Council, tried to fight ship to ship, matching force. With force, they played by the Council's rules and lost accordingly. But humanity had studied the Council for decades and identified their fundamental weakness. They had never faced an enemy that refused to fight fairly. Captain Park's voice came. Through the secure channel, all units initiate Phase 3. Target their life support systems. The human ships moved with deadly precision through the confused Council fleet. Instead of trying to destroy the massive alien vessels, they targeted specific systems. Air recycling. Units failed, artificial gravity generators malfunctioned, and food processing systems shut down. The Council ships remained intact and armed, but their crews were slowly being rendered helpless. Counselor Bexvarn found himself in the unprecedented position of being unable to control the situation. His ship was functional, but half his crew was struggling with failing life support. The humans weren't trying to kill them, they were making them prisoners in their own vessels. Director Chen, he transmitted desperately. We must discuss terms immediately. Sarah's response was cold and final. Counselor, the time for discussion has passed. You came to our system making demands. You threatened our people. You expected us to negotiate from fear. We don't negotiate with threats. General Kim was receiving status reports from across the system. All Council vessels effectively disabled. He announced life support systems failing on 8 ships, weapon systems offline on all vessels. Enemy capability to threaten Earth reduced to 0, but humanity wasn't finished. The next phase of their response would send a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Dr. Mitchell's voice crackled through the communication system. General, we're ready to demonstrate the deep space capability. Proceed with Phase 4. Kim ordered 20 light years away, in the Vega system. The Council maintained their regional headquarters. It was a massive space station, home to over 2 million Council personnel and the administrative center for this entire sector of the galaxy. The station was heavily defended and considered absolutely secure. The station's security sensors detected nothing unusual until it was too late. A single human ship, invisible to all their scanning technology, appeared inside their defensive perimeter. The vessel was smaller than a Council patrol craft, but what it carried would change everything. Commander Torres had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might not return. Her ship, equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humanity could produce, had traveled faster than light without using any conventional drive system. The Council's sensors were looking for quantum tunneling signatures and hyperspace distortions. They weren't designed to detect ships that folded space around themselves. The message she delivered was simple: a complete recording of the events in the solar system, along with detailed scans of every Council ship and weapon system. But the real message was her presence itself. If humanity could place a ship anywhere in the galaxy without detection, nowhere was safe. Back in the solar system, the Council fleet was in complete disarray. Admiral Zenkeller found himself in the humiliating position of having to request assistance from the very species he had come to subjugate. Director Chen, he transmitted, his voice lacking any of its earlier authority. My crew requires medical attention. Our life support systems are failing. Sarah's response came after a long pause. Admiral, we will provide humanitarian assistance to your crews. Medical shuttles are being prepared. However, your weapon systems will remain offline, and your ships will be escorted to the edge of our system. You cannot simply order the Galactic Council to leave. We have authority over this entire sector. You had authority, Sarah corrected him. Authority requires the ability to enforce your will. You no longer have that ability. The evacuation of the Council fleet took 3 days. Human medical teams worked around the clock to treat alien crews suffering from life support failures, demonstrating the same efficiency and competence they had shown in battle. But the message was clear. Humanity would help, but only on their terms. Dr. Rodriguez compiled the final report as the last Council ship prepared to leave the system. Strategic analysis shows complete success. The Council's military capability in this sector has been neutralized without significant loss of life on either side. Admiral Webb reviewed the casualty reports. 0 human military deaths. 47. Council personnel treated for hypoxia and related conditions. All recovered fully. And the political implications? Sarah asked. Elena smiled. The recording from the Vega system has been distributed to every major species in the galaxy. The Council's reputation for invincibility is permanently damaged. 3 species have already declared independence from Council oversight. The final transmission from the Council fleet came from Councilor Vexvarn as his flagship crossed the heliopause. Director Chen, this matter is not concluded. The Council will not tolerate this defiance. Sarah's response was broadcast not just to the departing ships, but to monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Counselor, we never asked for the Council's tolerance. We simply demonstrated that humanity will not be bullied by anyone, regardless of their claimed authority. If you return to our system with threats, you will receive the same response. If you come in peace, you will be welcomed. The choice is yours. The transmission ended, leading the galaxy to contemplate a new reality. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained order through overwhelming force and the threat of annihilation. No species had ever successfully resisted them because none had ever developed the technology and tactics necessary to do so. But humanity had never been like other species. They had looked at the Council's demands and responded not with fear or desperate negotiation, but with silence and preparation. They had used that silence to set a trap so comprehensive that the Council fleet found itself helpless without a single ship being destroyed. The message was clear. Humanity would not be pushed around. They had the technology to go anywhere in. The galaxy undetected, the capability to neutralize any threat, and the will to use both when necessary. The Council could choose to respect this new reality or continue to test humanity's resolve. As the last Council ship disappeared into hyperspace. Director Sarah Chen stood once again at the observation deck of Luna Station. The space around Earth was peaceful, filled only with human vessels and the distant glow of the sun. Think they'll be back? Admiral Webb asked. Sarah watched the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning a new lesson about the price of pushing humanity too far. Eventually, yes. But next time, they'll come to talk, not to threaten. The silence had spoken louder than any words could have. And the galaxy was listening. Asterisk.